Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? It's King Bay, America's Credit and Finance Drill Sergeant, author, motivational speaker, rapper, lyricist extraordinaire, and street philosopher. Former church boy turned spiritual warrior and savior of all babies and children. Anyway, on the road again, trying to get it in where I can fit it in. Wanted to talk about something that's very relevant to all the young black men out there and should be of concern to women of color all over the world. I want to talk a little bit about the trauma that young men face every day, that they feel every day, that they maybe never verbalize, but they feel it inside their heart. You know, with all the stress and the drama that's going on in our streets today with police actions and things of that nature, I don't think very many people are aware of what type of courage and strength that it takes for, I use the word black loosely because we're not crayons, we're Moors, or there's a reason why Latinos call us morenos. Historically, that's who we are, Moors. People don't realize the amount of stress and trauma that we go through on a daily basis just to get up and go out into the world. You know, I talk a lot of different things about finance, about credit, about small business, but today I wanted to talk about something that is like the elephant in the room that nobody wants to discuss, that we need to take into account. Young women, let me explain something to you. Every day when a man of color, when he gets up and he washes his body and he shaves and he grooms himself and he puts on some nice iron pressed clothes and puts on some things that make him smell good, some lotion that make him look good, he walks out into a world of evil and wickedness. He walks out into a world where everyone looks at him as being a suspect rather than the savior of the world, which is really who we are. Literally the saviors of the world. But we're a lot of times viewed as problems or criminals or suspects, or, you know, people say, why don't you go back where you came from? Go back to Africa. This world belonged to us. The indigenous people who were here before everybody else was even thought of. But in any case, that's another video for another time. I just want you to contemplate that when you're engaging a young man, whether it be an adult or whether it be a child, know that he's already under stress and duress, just from the pressure it takes and the courage it takes for him to get up every day, knowing that there's a bullseye on his chest, knowing that any point in time, there's a possibility that he could be shot down in the street like an animal by an officer or by another individual, and that individual may walk away with a slap on the wrist and with no retribution whatsoever. This is a challenge and a problem because I remember years ago when I was an alternative school teacher in Washington, D.C., and I lived in Maryland, I dealt with a lot of adjudicated young men. I remember on Monday mornings when we got to school, the Monday morning activity of the day for a lot of these young men who had been incarcerated, they had been locked up, they had been in alternative programs, they had been in and out of juvie. Some of them had been waived up to adults, had did adult time in fed jails and things of this nature. Well, the Monday morning activity in DC was to look at the metro section. The big thing was everybody was looking at the metro section. Why the metro section? Well, the metro section was a section in the newspaper that basically it told who got killed over the weekend, how many murders there was, Southeast DC, Northeast DC. There usually wasn't a lot at that time in Northwest. But in any case, these young men woke up every Monday morning looking for death, looking to see who had died. which one of the boys didn't make it, or which one of the guys from a rival drug gang didn't make it. And it was kind of sad, but this was their reality, that in the Washington Post, they played this same theme every day. Almost every day there was a death count on the front page of the newspaper. 4 kids killed last night. The death toll now is, and they kept a running tally on the people who had died, which was insane and incredible to me. And coming out of the Marine Corps, going to live in an area like Washington, D.C., coming out of a place where people called me sir, and they called me lieutenant, and people saluted me, and I got special preference, to go to a place like Washington, D.C., where the young men were constantly faced with this message of death every day, on a daily basis. There was this reinforcement and this replay of the number of people who didn't make it. And it was really, really, really a sad commentary on news reporting, because it's almost like they were looking for bad news and they really, really didn't want to hear the good news. But what this did to the psyche of the young men, it had a severe effect on them, in that many of them didn't think they would live past the age of 15 or 16. Many of them had a perspective, well, I'm gonna go out and wild out anyway, Mr. King, because I'm gonna die anyway. I'm definitely not gonna make it to the time I'm 17, so it's whatever. And that's the way they lived their lives, and it's sad because they didn't have any hope for the future because of the trauma and the messages that were played out in their eyes every day, and the trauma that was constantly going through their heart. It's almost like they were under a curse. Well, now it's almost like America is under that same curse, where young men every day get up and they put on their best and they try to get good grades and they try to be well groomed and try not to get in trouble, and they're still looked at with the eye of suspicion. You know, what is he doing here, or what is he up to? You're walking around the store and they're automatically assuming that you're going to steal when you got a pocket full of money. And it's a lot of stress to look at, to live under. It puts a lot of pressure on your heart, especially when a lot of our women don't understand. I remember I got a ticket from out in Virginia, and I had driven through this bus zone and wasn't even aware of the fact that it was a bus zone. And they sent me a ticket in the mail, and I never got it because I moved. They never forwarded it. So based on the fact I never got the ticket, I never received the ticket, I never paid the ticket, I never went to court, I didn't know. They suspended my license, I didn't know. So I moved to DC. I was living actually in a place called Mount Rainier, which was like right over the DC line. And I'm going to church one morning in my little blue BMW 320i. And I get pulled over by the cops. It was like they sent a SWAT team of cars. Said, you know, your license is suspended. We gotta arrest you. They must have sent 2 of the biggest cops that I'd ever seen in DC history. This big 6'6" black guy, this big 6'7" white guy, to arrest little old me, 6'1", 240 pounds at that time. In any case, I called my fiance at the time, and I told her I got arrested, and could she come down? I bailed myself out, but they said I couldn't drive. I asked her, could she come down and catch a ride from one of her friends so she could drive my car back, because I didn't want them towing my car. So when she got to the police station, she started laughing at me. She started laughing at me like it was a joke.